All right, GM, everyone. Welcome to another weekly episode with Superteam Thailand. And this time we have none other than our first time friend and guest, Omi Kyzzen from Kyzzen. We had an amazing workshop with him a few weeks back that put into role a lot of other workshops that we've been able to bring to all of you, from founder-led marketing to understanding capital formation, technical workshops, and we're back again this Friday. What a lovely day to have this Friday afternoon. The sun's shining. Omi has a very nice smile on his face. He looks like he just had a shave and a haircut. I need one of those, by the way, so I'm going to try and get that after this spaces. But for all of you, those are here and that are joining us, do us a favor before we get into it. You see that icon on the side of your screen. Comment GM, GN, Soul, and then more importantly, retweet it so that we can offer this value not just to Superteam Thailand members, but any founder out there that's been struggling with understanding how to grow on X. Even though the man needs no introduction, I'm going to pass the mic on to Omi and let him take the floor.
GM, thanks so much, Mo, for the introduction. Yeah, so my name is Omi Omai, Omi for short, and I'm the founder of Kyzzen, a discovery, education, and media platform on Solana. We've been around for a very, very long time, about 5 years now. And thank you to Superteam Thailand for this opportunity to come back and share this workshop. I actually came up with this idea when I had to kind of review our internal, strategies and policies. And because the Twitter algo keeps changing, quite periodically. In fact, I think there was a major change just last month. So, after redoing all the research and talking to quite a few other Twitter guys, decided that why not share all these, things that we found out about. So, really, really thank you so much to Mo for allowing me this platform, I guess, to share this stuff. Should I go straight into the presentation?
I was going to send emojis and I realized I cannot send emojis. No. Before we get into the presentation, why not give us like a quick TLDR on what Kyzzen is, and what makes it so special, right? Because I think it's important that even the last time we kind of overlooked it. So let's give it Kyzzen a few minutes, right?
Absolutely. So I didn't prepare any slides for this, but effectively the way you can think about Kyzzen is that we are a public good project, and we kind of do whatever we can to support discovery, education, as well as the media side of the platform. Is not the kind of typical media agencies where we get sponsored and we kind of push whatever we want to promote. The media side is more of being a platform for small newcomer projects that we think are really, really interesting and deserves some limelight, especially in crypto Twitter, where it's just so saturated. Mostly the big names are just pumping out a lot of content every day. We try to help the little guys, especially in Asia, right, where there's virtually no platform in Asia for Asian projects. So the way we do this is in a number of steps. The first one that we did was a discovery platform. So if you go to kyzen.io, that's kyzen.io, you will literally see every opportunity that is on Solana, whether you're looking at tokens, DeFi, RWA, quests, bounties, airdrops, jobs, news, podcasts, videos. Everything on Solana is there except for prediction markets as well as gacha, because those two are relatively new this year. So we are taking a look at that. So number one is the discovery platform. Number two is Kyzzen Academy, where I personally authored about 60 plus courses to help complete newcomers to Solana kind of navigate, and understand which are the big protocols, what are these concepts in very beginner-friendly language. And then thirdly, we try to help everyone stay updated on the everything happening on Solana ecosystem. So this year we actually launched Solana Pulse newsletter. So there is Solana Pulse, PULSE.kyzen.io. This is a single one-pager every single day. We create this, we publish it. It helps you track everything that happens on Solana, all the top announcements, the top tweets, top trending tokens and NFTs, the new jobs, new bounties, everything. So definitely try and subscribe to that. And then, last but not least, we have our, Kyzen's spotlight as well as workshops, right? Where we do on Twitter, we try and bring in the interesting projects that we have come to know about recently. We give them a 1 hour deep dive, screen share, go through that project on every day afternoon for Asia time, 3 p.m. Singapore time. As well as ad hoc basis, we do these workshops with Mo, with Superteam Thailand, and other organizations as well. So kind of all in one discovery platform, academy, newsletter, and online media as well.
Awesome. I appreciate that introduction. Right. The floor is yours. Let's get into it.
Perfect. All right. Let's do this. All right. You can see my slides, yeah? All right. So hang on. Let me just get this set up. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how Solana founders can use X more effectively, and not just to gain followers, but to build credibility, relationships, distribution, and actual momentum for your projects, right? And it's not going to be one of those generic social media workshops. We're going to focus specifically on the realities of being a founder in the Solana ecosystem, where you may also be, as a founder, you might be responsible for product, fundraising, community partnerships, content, all at the same time. All right. So the goal is to give you a practical, operating system that you can apply immediately, right? Even if you do not have a dedicated marketing team or an intern, I think these concepts, these techniques are very important for you guys to know. So we're going to cover profile optimization, content strategy, post formats, replies, relationship building, launches, analytics, all of that, right? And hopefully we'll leave time at the end of the Q&A. This is the first time I'm doing this talk, so I'm really hoping I keep within time. But we hopefully have time for questions and maybe even possibly a live account audit as well. Okay. So what I want to leave you guys with at the end of the workshop is 4 things, right? Number 1 is like a clearer idea of what your account should be known for and who you want to attract. Okay. The second thing is a stronger founder and project profile that can convert visitors into followers, users or community members. And thirdly, a repeatable content and engagement system so that you're not waking up every day, asking like, what should I post, right? That is just poor social media management. Okay. And fourth, hopefully a practical 30-day plan that you can realistically maintain while you continue to build your product and project. Okay. This is important because beyond anything else, consistency is the most important, and it's usually not a creativity problem. It is a systems problem. So before we discuss tactics, we need to understand why X matters so much for founders. Okay, so your X account is part of your product. For many people, your X account will be their first meaningful interaction with your project. Before they visit your website, join your Telegram, try your product, attend your event, or speak with your team, they may first look at your X profile, and they're going to use it to answer several questions. Things like, is this project still alive, right? Does the team actually understand the problem they're trying to solve? Can I trust them? Are others, even care? Are they paying attention? Is there evidence that these guys are actually, building? And this means that your X account is not merely like, a promotional channel, right? It is actually part of your product's reputation layer. And it is where people discover you, they evaluate you, they communicate with you, and they decide whether they want to take the next step, right? So for a founder, X can also create opportunities that are difficult to generate through, paid marketing, right? Introductions, partnerships, event invitations, media coverage, and all that stuff. Okay, the X growth equation. So this is one simple framework that we're going to use throughout the session. X growth basically equals to position multiplied by content, multiplied by distribution, multiplied by conversion, right? Position answers, why should someone care about this account, care about you, right? Content answers, why should someone keep coming back? Distribution answers, how will the right people see this content? And conversion answers, what should someone do after seeing it? And the important thing is that these factors are not just, you don't simply add them together, they actually multiply with each other, right? You can create excellent content, but if your position is unclear, people may enjoy the post without understanding why they should follow you. So, you can gain a lot of impressions, but if your profile is weak, then those impressions will not convert, right? You can have a polished profile, but if you never participate in the relevant conversations, then very few people will actually, discover it. So throughout the workshop, we'll continuously return to these 4 areas. Growth toward what? Before trying to grow an account, I think you must define what growth actually means for your project. So start with the audience, right? Are you trying to reach users, developers, liquidity providers, creators, partners, investors, contributors, other founders. Like it's very difficult to create effective content when you are trying to speak to everybody at once, right? No targeting at all, right? So decide what action you want that audience to take after you've decided who you are targeting, right? Decide what action you want them to take. Do you want them to follow you, to visit the website, join a community, test a product, apply to a program? Like what is it you want them to do? Your account may eventually serve quite a few objectives, but I think for the next 30 days, especially if you guys are just starting out, kind of try and choose like one primary audience and one primary action, right? And see how that goes. So maybe it can be like, for the next 30 days, we want to reach active Solana traders and persuade them to test our beta, right? I think that is much more useful than simply saying that we want more followers, right? Followers are an input, but they are not the final business objective. Okay, so take 5 seconds and think about your own project, right? For your own project, who is the single most important audience for your account right now?
I think, a good thing just to over here, like for all of you that are listening in and are founders themselves, use the comment section, drop that exact answer, right? Let's see what's the one audience you want and what's the one outcome that you want from that audience.
Exactly. 2 account, 2 jobs. Okay, this one's interesting. So one common mistake is, founders trying to treat their own personal account and their project account, as if they should be doing the same role, right? So in essence, they should support each other, but they actually have very different strengths. So your founder account is usually better for personality, opinions, lessons, relationships, credibility, and people can kind of relate to a founder, when they say that, guess what, we tried this approach, it failed, and here's what we learned, right? The project account, on the other hand, is better for official information, product education, announcements, support, evidence, and calls to action. Okay, so basically the founder account creates attention and trust. The project account creates clarity and authority, right? The founder should not, basically like repost every project announcement without adding perspective, right? Explain why the update matters. I guess what was difficult, what changed, what you learned, right? And similarly, the project account should not attempt to just sound like a generic corporate press release, right? It should still try and communicate very clearly and naturally. So the best founder project combination creates 2 entry points into the same story. So make the profile do the work, right? So every campaign you run ends on this page. The first and foremost is, can someone understand you in 3 seconds? Okay. In my previous workshop, I was saying that someone understand you in 10 seconds, but on social media it's even worse, right? Literally, can someone understand you in 3 seconds, or they're scrolling away? So, imagine someone sees one of the replies and, visits your profile, and you only have seconds before they decide whether to stay or leave. You should be able to answer like, what is this account? What is being built? Who is it for? Why does it matter? What should I do next? And does this even look like credible and trustworthy, right? So this is why the profile image, your banner, your bio, your link, your pinned post must all work together to paint that picture, deliver that message in 3 seconds, right? You do not evaluate your own profile. I don't even try to do that, based on how well you understand it, because you already know your own project, right? Try and evaluate it from the perspective of a stranger who has never heard of you. Maybe find some friends in real life who doesn't really know about, that much of Web3. Get them to give you their opinion, right? When the profile is unclear, right, the visitor is unlikely to spend several minutes researching what, the founder even mean. So let's start with the project account. So for your project profile, it should function like a very simplified landing page, starting with the profile image, right? The first thing everyone looks at is the profile image. So try and use a clean, very recognizable logo. It should remain visible even at a small size. Like you can see on Kyzzen, we have the neon lime green against a dark background, have strong contrast, avoid small text, right? Minimum is 400 by 400 pixels. Higher resolution obviously better. And try not to change your logo too frequently, because the recognition compounds over time. For the banner, use the proper 1500 by 500 ratio. And remember that the profile picture will overlap towards the lower left area. And you have to play around with like the mobile and tablet resolutions as well. Every time you change your banner, make sure that, everything that you want them to see can be seen very clearly, right? The banner should ideally include your project name, and a very short, clear value proposition. Around 4 to 8 words is good. The wording must be readable, as I mentioned on the phone. Don't try and fill the banner with like 1,000 product features and 4 different logos. Keep the colors, the lighting, the visual style consistent with your website and other channels. And regarding your bio, you should explain the product in plain English, right? You should identify who is it for and include one very clear action. So someone should not need to understand really advanced crypto terminology to understand the benefit of what you're building, right? And then finally, use the website field for your primary destination rather than hiding it inside, a lot of links, right? So if you take a look at this example that I have on Kyzzen, we try and follow this as closely as we can. Obviously, the crypto hub is a little bit, not very visible, so I definitely should go back and update it as well. But we try and, keep it very clear and concise. The logo. We currently use Solana Pulse because that's the new product we're pushing. But in our bio, you can see, daily Solana intelligence for founders and builders, right? What we're building and who is it for? And then we end with a call to action, right? SolanaPulse.kyzen.io. The main website link is our main website. Yeah, so this is the kind of approach that we take towards our own social media. Okay, people follow people before logos. So for your personal account, the objective is slightly different. Your profile should establish both the relevance and your personality. So, either you can use a professional headshot or a reputable identity that people can consistently recognize, maybe an established NFT PFP, right? And your bio can also use a simple formula, like who you are, what you're building, the value it creates, and why someone should follow you, I guess. For example, you can use things like, building your project on Solana, helping who achieve what, right? Shipping in public, follow for updates. So the CTA behind is follow for updates. The second example here is, Solana founder building something, sharing lessons from product growth and community, DMs open for collaborations. I think, over here, I actually gave my example of my own profile. So I identify in Web3 very heavily with my own monkey picture. So I use it as my main profile picture, but I also obviously, shares my in real life photos as well, workshops I've done, speeches I've given, as well as a little bit about myself, right? Solana OG, founder, contributor. My bio, I use, building at Kyzzen.io, discovery, education, and public goods for Solana, and other stuff that kind of identify my journey, right? Council advisor for Solarians, Singapore ambassador for Monkey DAO. So things like this, definitely have to optimize your profile before you do any form of, marketing campaigns. So, one more. Okay, make the pinned post your mini landing page. Okay, so the pinned post is maybe one of the most overlooked items on your profile that people kind of don't really know what to do with. So this is actually one of the most valuable pieces of real estate on your profile, right? So you should not automatically pin your most popular meme or your latest announcement. I mean, from time to time, definitely pin your most critical milestone, but you should always revert back to, a one-pager details of your project, right? So try and make it specifically for new investors. It should, explain like what your project is, what problem it solves, who is it for, why you're different, what evidence that or progress already exists, where someone can learn more, and obviously always end with the CTA, what action the reader should take next, right? So it's kind of like the short version of your pitch deck. Use very plain English, include like appropriate like visuals or short demo or links, to the most useful destination, and review it very, very regularly, right? So every single time that you have a new critical milestone, update it, right? Because every time people come to your profile, obviously they look at your logo and your bio first, but then, when they actually decided that in that 3 seconds that they are interested, that is what they're gonna click and open and look at. Yeah. So trust is a growth multiplier. So regarding this, it's quite simple actually. So growth is easier when your account looks trustworthy, right? I think it's quite easy to understand. Verification, so getting the verified tick, can contribute to that trust and can also affect visibility within parts of X, especially replies and search. But obviously verification by itself will not rescue your poor content, right? Trust also comes from having a very consistent identity, by having a real team, by having clear links, by being very transparent in your communication, having regular evidence of shipping, professional responses, and I think personally, I think the most important thing is trying to avoid spam like behavior, right? So yeah, I mean, for project accounts, verification very useful because users need to feel confident, right, that they are interacting with the official account. As you know, there are a lot of fake accounts, but the most reliable long-term strategy remains the same, right? Publish useful material, behave credibly, create real relationships. That is basically the most important thing for long-term strategies. Okay, part 3, building a content engine. Okay, let's go. So here we talk about 3 to 5 repeatable pillars, because once your profiles have been optimized and can, in a sense, convert attention in itself, we need to create a reason for people to discover it and return, right? The goal is to stop posting randomly and hopefully we start operating a very repeatable content engine. Oops. Yeah, and with these 3 to 5 repeatable pillars, these things are basically recurring subjects that your account wants to be known for, right? So for a Solana founder, some of these pillars may include product and shipping updates, educational or technical insights, founder lessons and transparency, community stories and user evidence, and relevant ecosystem or market commentary, right? You actually don't need all 5. Ideally, you should choose around 3 of these to be your primary pillars, and then that you feel that you can consistently produce, right? Like sustain it for the long term. So if you're a DeFi founder, for example, right, you might focus on things like your product updates, your market education, your founder lessons, right? A consumer app founder might focus on user stories, product demonstrations, and behind the scenes building, right? So the purpose of content pillars is not to make every post look the same, but it is to create the consistency of subject, right? So over time, people should understand like what they will gain by following you, because without the pillars, the founders often, they kind of alternate randomly between memes, product announcements, motivational statements, technical posts, and it kind of leads to confusion, right? The audience doesn't really know what your account represents. Not every post has the same job. Different posts should ideally perform different jobs, right? So some posts, they can build trust, including lessons, opinions, and transparent updates. Some create value, like frameworks, tutorials, educational explanations. Some create proof, including product demos, user results, integrations, milestones. Some create conversation through questions, polls, and market commentary. And some create action, right? Such as launch announcements, event registrations, product calls to action. And a healthy account should contain a mixture, right? If every post is asking people to, hey, use my product, the account becomes quite exhausting. If every post, provides education, but then you don't ask for any action, then your account might grow but never ever convert, never ever generate actual users, right? So think about your content as a portfolio. Each post has a purpose, and the mixture should support the project's, your current objectives, basically. So turn one milestone into a campaign. One common founder problem is underusing the very important updates, the critical milestones, right? Like imagine, right, your team spends 2 months building a feature, and the founder just publishes one announcement, right? And then immediately moves on, right? This is just a huge waste, right? Instead, one milestone can actually become quite a few different posts, right? You can create things like the official announcement, founder perspective on why you built it, do a short product demonstration, a technical explanation, a user benefit example, a partner amplification post, a community question, and at the end you can post about the results, right? This is not to, I guess, repost the same sentence like 8 to 10 times, right? Because each post should kind of tell a different part of the story. The official account might explain what shipped. The founder might explain what was difficult, right? So it's quite different, right? A developer might explain the architecture, right? And then the user use case scenario can show the benefit. And one real milestone, can actually provide a whole week of like valuable content without becoming repetitive. So here's a simple structure that works. So yeah, so a strong post usually needs these 4 things. Okay, first, an opening sentence that earns the attention. Second, a very clear explanation or useful idea. Third, evidence. You need evidence or an example. And fourth, a natural question or call to action. Right. So you can tie that all up with media. Media can actually strengthen all of these when it adds context. Okay. So what I want to do here is compare these 2 examples. So the first one is, hey, we are excited to announce our new update. Check it out, right? There's no problem mentioned. There's no specifics, no details. There's no reason to continue reading, right? But then compared to the next one, the improved sentence, right? It's like Solana users lose time switching between 3 tools to complete one workflow. And today we reduce it to 1 transaction. Here is how it works. So, you name a real problem and you earn the attention for the next line, right? So kind of saying that instead of trying to say that the update was revolutionary, like wow, right? Show them, what became faster, easier, safer, cheaper, and the more concrete your claim, the less hype you actually need. Okay. And one thing we mentioned on the previous slide was earning the next 3 seconds. Okay, so this is very important. The first sentence, like you honestly do not need to be dramatic, right? But it must create a reason to continue. So several useful opening approaches could be like a specific problem, a surprising observation, a contrarian belief, strong result, clear lessons, relevant stories, timely question. Very important to avoid controversy or unpaid curiosity gaps and big announcement language lah. Yeah, some of the templates I've put here, right? So most founders make this mistake when blah blah blah. Here's what changed after our first 100 users. Solana doesn't need more of X, it needs more of Y. Yeah, it could be, if I were launching again, I will do these 3 things first. So the opening must be supported by the rest of the post. So a good hook earns attention, and you don't really want to. I guess what I see way too much on Twitter is, people try to trick readers into to getting more attention, right? Which is just like, yeah, I don't know. Personally, I feel, every time when I see something like a hook and I realize that it's just, a fake hook, it actually leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. Make the post worth stopping for. Okay, so media, right, can stop the scroll and it can make an idea easier to understand, right? So a few useful formats are like short videos, product demonstrations, screen recordings, charts, diagrams, before and after comparisons, sometimes memes, in fact, and maybe strong event or team images, right? So I think current guidance on the algo is that video is generally the strongest media format, especially when it has good retention. So a practical range is between 15 to 60 seconds, right? But the correct duration, it depends on the context, it depends on the content, it depends on the situation, right? So given these restrictions, you want to start quickly. Don't try and spend 10 seconds showing a logo animation and then before you start, explaining the value. Any images there should be very clear enough to, I guess, invite expansion. If you have charts and diagrams, those will actually work especially well when the viewer needs to enlarge them to examine the details. So the algo actually gives extra points every time the user clicks on anything, right? So if I don't know if you want to like intentionally make it a bit too small, but yeah, every time they have to stay a little longer, if they have to hover on for a little longer, if they have to click to expand, all those add a lot of points. Yeah. But the important thing here is that do not attach media, right, just because you believe that every post requires it. Okay. The media should actually strengthen the message and not try and, I guess, distract away from it, right? And this is, we'll come to this later, but this is something that I see overly done with every Twitter thread. Like, you have a thread of like 10 posts and every single post you force, either an image or a GIF just for the heck of it, right? Yeah, that's actually not really good. Okay, choosing the format that fits the idea. This is a simple one. So basically, you choose between single post, thread, and article. The rule of thumb here is actually that well, the way I look at it, right, is that if your content can fit within 4 tweets, just do one single long post. Okay. When it's like 5 to 9 tweets, do a thread. And if it's longer than 9, just do an article. And the reason is because if it's a single long post, the likelihood is that you'll earn more points in the algo because the user is hanging on to that single post, right? They're spending more time reading it, right? Whereas if you go to a thread, that attention span per content is much lesser, but if they continue to scroll past 5 to 9, if you are so confident that all 9 tweets in the thread are that interesting, do a thread. Do a thread. Yeah, because then you earn a lot of points because they are in essence hovering longer on the same piece of content, right? And an article obviously is I mean, if it's longer than 9 tweets, I mean, it's sensible to do an article, right? Okay, posting rules. Let me see. This is a very, very interesting one. Hang on. Yes. Okay. So what you want to do is create more reasons to respond, right? You want to ask thoughtful questions, but don't kind of, I guess, force engagement with language like comment below, right? You want to reply to everyone who engages, right? Especially the genuine responses, and more importantly, try to always continue the conversation. Don't just like they reply like, oh, super bullish on this. Don't just say like thank you. You should always be like ask like, oh, what do you like about it, right? Try and create a conversation because that gets you a lot more visibility and more meaningful conversations as well, right? So as I mentioned just now, use images, GIFs, or video when they genuinely improve the content. Always be specific. Always try and share actual lessons, progress or evidence. Post consistently enough that the audience remembers you. So if you post once a week, then odds are that no one's going to see your material. And always try and write for humans before you write for the algorithm. Yeah, I think that one is something that is always easy to forget. Yeah. So a very useful test is, would this post still be worth reading if I didn't care about likes and impressions, right? If those were hidden, right, would it still be worth reading? And if the answer is no, then the post may actually depend too heavily, on engagement mechanics rather than substance. Okay. Second half of posting rules is what you shouldn't do, right? So try and avoid killing own distribution, and these are some of the behaviors to avoid. So number one, don't begin an original post with a mention, or no, because it's going to be treated as a reply rather than a normal standalone post. So some people try and if they really really have to, which I don't really think there is a situation where you need to, but if you really have to start with a mention, a trick is to add a period in front, right? A full stop. Yeah, so that kind of helps. When reach is the priority, the current guidance is to place external links in a reply rather than inside the main post or thread. So for example, let's say when I announce a new live stream, for example, and I want people to set reminders using a Luma link, what I'll do is usually I'll just post that announcement as a tweet first, and then I'll reply manually to it, right? So that helps quite a bit, because if your thread instantly already has external link, it is straight away demoted, right? It's not going to be very visible. Yeah. One thing that I think most people that spend enough time on Twitter knows is that you shouldn't spam hashtags. Hashtags are important for other platforms. On Twitter, it's a bad no-no. If you really want one, you can probably have 1 or 2, but honestly, I don't think you need 1, right? One common mistake also is people like to fill the post with a lot of emojis. That is also no-no. So effectively, you kind of want your content to be delivered on its own merit, right? Yeah, this one on engagement bait as well. Try and avoid all these things like like if you agree, RT to win, my link in bio, things like this lah. And don't publish the same post every single day. The worst culprit is obviously GM posts, right? GM or GN or Yeah, I think you guys know what I'm talking about lah. Things like this, right? Like GM, LFG, When Moon, they can actually receive engagement, but they actually, especially on the project side, right? They do incredibly little to strengthen your positioning. Yeah. And regarding languages, right, always be consistent with the audience you are trying to reach. So there is evidence that, posting something in English and then posting something else in Korean or posting something else in German, if you mix languages too much, it will penalize you because the algo doesn't know what demographic your account is targeting, right? So if you really want to have I guess country specific or language specific targeting, the suggestion is to create a different account, right? The only time is, I guess, forgiven is when you are replying to posts that are in a different language. So for example, it's like a Chinese tweet, for example, and you reply in Chinese, that is less of an issue. But if you're originating a post, always stick to the main language. So if you are, a Spanish project, just always post in Spanish. Yeah. Okay, distribution is a conversation. The best growth rarely comes from posting alone. Okay, replies are public distribution. So replies, they are not private comments, right? They are actually the public content that you know can be seen by your entire audience, right? So try and prioritize replies to people who comment on your own posts, right? Because ultimately you want to create reply chains. You want to extend the conversation and show that your account is still active. And always try to reply early when practical, right? Early engagement contributes to momentum. And I would say that 10, thoughtful replies are a lot more valuable than 50 shallow ones. Yeah. And always try to avoid those, one word responses like, oh, nice, great, GM, right? Try and always, at every opportunity that you can, add a useful observation, add another example, even like a respectful disagreement is great, right? Because that creates conversation, right? Or the easiest one for me is a genuine question. Yeah. So things like this, right? Try and create reply chains, try to create more conversation. Whenever it's appropriate, try and, I guess a rule of thumb is to aim for like 2 to 4 sentences. Yeah. And current operating guidance on the algo is to target around like 15 to like 40 valuable replies per day. And when possible, always try and respond within 15 minutes. So after 15 minutes, if there's no replies on a tweet, usually it goes dead. The hard rule of thumb is 60 minutes, but the first 15 minutes is like very, very crucial. So if any partners that, can help you like, engage and share, definitely try and get them in within the first 15 minutes. Yeah. So these are operating targets, right? They're not like strict SLAs, but I think they're very helpful to frame, I guess, your turnaround times. Yeah, the objective basically is to it's not to like reply as much as possible. The objective is to become a very valuable participant in the right conversation. So if you have one very, very hot tweet that has like 100 replies, don't reply to 100 of them. Right? Pick your spots, pick the ones that are from verified users, are from names that you regularly see engaging your content. Try and spark that conversation. Yeah. Entering the right conversations. Okay, so when you where you reply, as I mentioned, right, is it actually matters as much, if not more than how often you reply. So always target your own posts and your own community questions about your product, and then you participate in like relevant technical discussions, ecosystem conversations, and narratives connected to your project and product. You can also always engage with larger founders, projects, and creators in your niche. But bear in mind that relevance is a lot more important than just raw audience size. Okay, a thoughtful reply to a smaller account followed by, I guess, your ideal users may be more valuable than a generic reply under the largest account X. Okay, so kind of think in like 2 dimensions, right? Number 1 is how relevant is the conversation, and number 2 is how visible it is. Right, so it's a very simple diagram I have here, right? So high relevance and high visibility is obviously the dream, right? It's ideal, right? High relevance and lower visibility can still create strong relationships. Okay, low relevance but high visibility often it produces shallow attention and usually doesn't convert. Not saying don't do it. Obviously, you should consider doing it. What you shouldn't do is bother with low relevance and low visibility lah. Yeah. build a relationship map, not a follower count. Okay, so effectively, what you want to do is kind of organize everyone into lists. You got builders, partners, media, investors, community, and customers. You want to follow Superteam chapters, Solana founders, major projects, sector investors, blah blah blah. Create lists on X, in X Pro. In fact, if you have X Pro, and then engage with those. Right? Don't the Twitter's for you algorithm is changing all the time, and honestly, it's not they won't know who you are targeting, right? So you know who you're targeting, add them all to a list and then go for it, right? There is a tactic that I've been trying recently that is actually quite useful. There are a few steps you have to do first, but basically the main tactic is effectively you know who your main competitors are, you know who the biggest projects in the ecosystem are for your sector, right? You know the biggest organizations like Superteam, Solana Foundation, and other organizations that are very relevant to you. You might know who other developers who might resonate with you are. Go and look at all these huge accounts, especially the organizational accounts. All of them have, if they have the highest tier organization tier in X, they will usually have affiliates, right? Try and follow all their affiliates, right? If you're building something that they might be interested in, there'll usually be a lot of follow backs, right? And one thing to note is that X kind of has like a maximum for personal accounts. They have a maximum 400 followers a day, so you don't really want to like max out 400 every single day for like days on end because they will think you're a bot. But yeah, one strategy I found is that maybe pick out like 5 organizations a day where you want to follow all their affiliates, right? Maybe it could be other DeFi protocols, it could be like infrastructure people, and there's actually quite a. I mean, if your profile is optimized and you are actually genuinely building what you're saying you're building, and your content is actually interesting, actually the conversion rate is quite high. Like I think last month I hit about 85 to 90 follow backs within the first run through. So it's pretty decent. But obviously, again, those few steps before that, you have to optimize for it. Yeah. Okay, borrow distribution before you own it. So as an early stage project, I'm sure you know that you might not own a lot of distribution by yourself, right? So try and participate in communities and platforms like that already have these distributions, right? So within Solana, obviously they have Superteam chapters, you have communities like Monkey DAO, and other founder communities, hackathons, grants, accelerators, live stream and podcasts, X Spaces, media publications. Literally, there's a lot of different types of I guess partners and entities that already have very wide distribution that you can kind of leverage on, right? And this participation in these communities effectively help you generate things like relationships, help you generate credibility, content, amplification, feedback, introductions, which are all very important for your long-term growth of your reputation and your brand, right? So on Kyzzen's side, Solana Power's side, we actually already started indexing a lot of the grants, hackathons, accelerators, fundraisers, media platforms, communities. We are going to release a few tools soon on this to help you kind of. I mean, if you're coming to Solana for the first time, maybe you are from Web2, maybe you're from Ethereum. This would be a very quick jumpstart for you to kind of know which communities you can be a part of. So I'm really excited for that. Okay, so campaigns, measurement and routine. Okay, let's see. Do not waste a major announcement. Okay, this is an interesting one. I think we've talked about this a little bit already. A launch should be treated as a campaign and not a single post, right? So before you launch, always try and build context. Talk about the problem. Share relevant progress. Explain why the change matters. Coordinate with partners. On launch day, publish one clear primary announcement. Use a strong visual or demonstration. Explain the benefit in plain, simple, beginner-friendly English. And then obviously always give your primary CTA. And then on the side, your founders should always try and give a founder perspective. As I mentioned, lessons learned, why you built it, what was so difficult, and then the remaining stuff are all replies, right? You have to, reply aggressively. And then after the launch, continue the story, maybe publish a tutorial, share a technical breakdown of the whole thing, highlight user reactions, highlight results, highlight metrics, again, lessons learned and community questions. So, a feature that took literally months to build, right? You should generate way more than just one morning of attention. You wanna spread it out and have a good launch campaign that turns the product's work into several days of useful, ideally non-repetitive communication. And this one, reach is only the beginning. So for this one, I think one common mistake is people judging performance only through impressions. I guess you start with attention metrics, things like impressions, video views, engagement. But then you have to look at interest, right? You have to look at profile visits, follows, bookmarks, and relevant replies. I think a higher level would be intent, right? Things like, link clicks, how many people join your community, how many people are requesting for a demo and people are registering for it. But the most importantly is project outcomes, right? How many users are in there? How many people are using the applications, how many deposits you've garnered from your campaigns, how many integrations, how many partnerships, how many investor conversations. So obviously reach might be the first starting ground, but this should all lead into solid project outcomes, right? So a post with 200,000 impressions, 1 million impressions, right? Yeah, amazing numbers, right? But it might create very little value, right? If it's 1 million to the wrong people, right? But you might have a post with 5,000 impressions, 10,000 impressions, right? Very successful if it generates, I guess 5 major partners, 100 relevant users, even 2, angel investors coming to ask you about it. It could be a lot more worthwhile. You should always ask things like, after the campaign, you should always ask what happened because people saw this, right? So yeah, so basically the best post is not automatically the one with the most reach, right? It's the one that moves the right people towards the right action and delivers the right project outcome. I know we're running short of time. I think the slides are ending soon. But yes, I'll continue. So publish, measure, learn, and repeat. Okay, so at the end of each week, review your account. Try and take a look at which topics attracted the right people, which openings earn attention, things like which posts created meaningful replies. There's nothing set in stone here, right? Like, seriously, like, I don't have the answer to most of these. This is very personal stuff, right? But a framework for going about it is having a weekly scorecard, right? And having a marketing manager if you have one, or if you're the founder, then with no marketing intern, then sucks to be you. But have a weekly scorecard. Best post, best topic, best format, most valuable conversation, biggest conversion, and the next experiment, right? Always try and play around with different stuff. Next experiment, very important. Sustainable founder routine. Okay, so this one, quite hopeful on my end, knowing how busy founders are, but try and do this, right? Because a good system is hopefully sustainable for founders. So every single day, aim to publish something meaningful or contribute something valuable. You can engage through your curated list rather than just scrolling randomly on your For You feed. Try and reply to relevant conversations and respond to people who engage with your posts. Capture ideas as they occur, so you don't start with like 0 every morning, right? So before I sleep, also I like to like bookmark. Even though I'm a little late when I wake up, I can still reply meaningfully, right? Every single week, try and publish one deeper educational or founder-led post. Try and share, one piece of product or community proof. Review analytics. Update your content queue, and try and contact at least one creator partner or media platform and see what happens. Okay, and then every month try and review your positioning, review the quality of your network, and identify your strongest content pillar. Okay, and then obviously you should be planning the next launch or campaign as well. Yeah, the objective here, especially as founders that are super busy, the objective isn't to be online every minute, is to create this routine that continues even when your product work, even when your ops, even when everything else becomes very busy, right? So 20 focused minutes, right, 3 times a day, 20 minutes 3 times a day, 1 hour total, can be more effective than several hours. Every time you have a bit of breathing room, just unfocused, like scrolling and just random replies. Try and create a routine for yourself. Protect the distribution that you build. So security, very important. Always enable 2FAs or passkeys. We all know, we've all seen, I think half of us has experienced a hack on our Twitter site. Please have a 2FA and passkey. Use a company controlled email rather than a temporary personal account, because that helps you to resolve the situation faster as well. Do not ever casually share a master password or leave it in some digital print. Use appropriate delegation or team access systems when you have multiple people managing the account. Things like review connected applications and remove anything that is no longer necessary from time to time. Probably good to do that every month. Define who can actually approve major announcements. Decide who handles support replies and community incidents. Again, a lot simpler if you're the sole founder and like you're the only person working on the account. But prepare a simple response process in case the account is compromised. So actually, a lot of times when accounts get hacked, there's usually a post-mortem. So usually I'll try to bookmark those as well, so that I know that, okay, if I ever face a situation like this, what to do exactly, who should I reach out, where to write, and try and resolve it as soon as possible, right? People often think about security only after something goes wrong, but it's a lot, I promise you, it's a lot easier to protect your account. Just spend like literally a little bit of time on it, right? Because rebuilding your account and reputation and audience after that, right, it's just a lot more effort. Yeah. Okay, 5 rules to remember. If you can only remember 5 things from the workshop, please remember these. Number 1, know exactly who you are trying to reach. Number 2, please, for the love of God, make the profile explain the project immediately within 3 seconds. Build repeatable content pillars so you are not posting randomly. Number 4, earn distribution through valuable conversations. And number 5, measure your project outcomes rather than vanity metrics. Okay, the algorithm matters, but the algorithm is not your strategy, right? Please be clear on that. Okay, your strategy is to be relevant, is to be useful, is to be recognizable to the people who can help your project grow. That is your strategy, not your Twitter algorithm. Okay, so that's the 5 things that I hope that you guys remember. I have a few interesting stuff like checklists and stuff that might be very useful, that are screenshot worthy. But if Mo wants to take over, and if there are any questions, that will be good.
I always appreciate your speed and focus on how quickly you can go through it while keeping the tone consistent. I have a lot of questions, and I think the audience does too as well. And I know we're towards the end of the space. So if anybody does have questions, drop them in here. Something that's very relevant and a hack for pretty much every founder, and we see this even at Superteam Thailand, is they're great builders, but they almost have no digital footprint. They're not relevant on social. One of the conversations which came up today is like, where do I start and how do I start tweeting, right? This workshop answers pretty much all of that. When people think about like tweeting and being on social media, it requires hours. It actually requires only 20 minutes a day, 3 times a day. It's a nice way to also disconnect from your workstation, walk around, get some oxygen, so that you can actually have better ideas than to be sitting in your office chair and, trying to fight a writer's block.
Exactly. There is a couple of questions in the chat. Should we get on to them?
Let's do it. So,
what's your advice for founders when it comes to using their accounts to post, reply, and repost external matters unrelated to their projects or ecosystem, politics, well-being, entertainment, etc.? So this one definitely is I can think off the top of my head a lot of the biggest personalities in crypto Twitter, especially Solana as well. We know who they are. They do it. I would say, it's honestly it's up to them, right? This is your own personal account. Then while some people might not agree with it or like it, with freedom of speech, but the onus is more of the founders to decide if any potential, I guess, pushback or unhappiness that it generates or controversy generates, how it reflects on their project itself. If they are willing to take on that risk, and try to balance a fine line between their own personal brand and their professional career. It's honestly theirs to take. I think we all make our own decisions. In fact, whatever I explained to you on the workshop today is not, I'm not telling you to do it. I'm offering you suggestions on how you can do it. So you run an account the way that you want to. Just bear in mind that anything that reflects badly on your project, whether you deserved it. If they have co-founders, then it's up to the co-founders to like decide whether they want to request for him to restrict themselves. Yeah.
Awesome. I think there was just that one question. So I'm guessing we'll start seeing a lot more founders and builders start tweeting and being relevant on the timeline from today.
Hope so. Hope so. I can quickly share a few things that if you guys want a screenshot, I think are very, very useful. So we did mention a project profile checklist. There's one. These are 30 content prompts that, because in the earlier days as well, I always have a writer's block, and it's hard to think of what you want to post. These 30 content prompts, I'm not asking you to just wake up every single day and just like randomly throw a dart on a dartboard, right? Like, think about this when you kind of schedule your content in advance, or when you are planning your launch campaign strategy. Yeah. Post review checklist. So always try and improve and upgrade yourself. I mean, obviously, if you can review it before you actually publish it, that would be the best thing. But if you can't, this checklist as well will be helpful for a post-mortem as well. Then weekly metrics template that I think we've covered earlier, but it's just always good to have. And I think that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us via marketing@kyzzen.io. Really appreciate everyone's time today. Appreciate Superteam Thailand. The only thing we ask is if you could, I guess, follow us on Twitter. Follow myself, omiomai_soul on Twitter. And this QR code is to our amazing newsletter that I mentioned at the start of the workshop. So this one is the most comprehensive one-day newsletter on everything happening on Solana. So hopefully you subscribe to that. Thank you. Thanks, Mo.
Thank you, Legend. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next workshop. Have a great Friday.
See you. Bye-bye.